Hello everyone, my name is Beatriz Hatem and today I'm going to show you how to make pan de jamon or ham bread. So pan de jamon is a type of bread that we make in Venezuela, South America. It's right there in the dark green. It is a bread that we only make during Christmas and we eat it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, whenever. Before we begin, you need to keep in mind these tips. Wash your hands before you start. If your hair is long, pull it up in a ponytail. You don't want hairs falling off. Ask an adult for help when using knives and heat. You don't want to cut yourself or get burned. And always clean up after you finish. So here's the utensils that we will need. Measuring cups and measuring spoons. 2 mixing bowls and a wooden spoon or spatula. A sifter, a rolling pin and a pastry brush. A knife and cutting board, a saucepan and a cookie sheet. So let's get started. Here are the ingredients for the dough. We're going to need 4 1/3 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 packet of active dried yeast, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of milk, can be 2% or whole milk, about 5½ tablespoons of butter, 1/3 cup of sugar, so now let's prepare the dough. We first measured 2 of the 4 cups of flour and we pass it through the sifter. I do this so the flour is more fluffy, it incorporates air and it makes your finished product softer. After this we add the dried yeast. Now have an adult and heat up the milk, the butter, the sugar, and the salt. You want to use medium to low heat. You don't want to get the milk very hot because it will kill the yeast. And this is how it should look like. Notice that it's not boiling. So now we take our flour and yeast mixture, we put it in a bigger bowl. And to this we're going to add our milk mixture. It should be lukewarm or fairly warm. And we begin mixing. You can perfectly use a mixer machine for this, but since I don't have one here, I'm going to use my trusty old spatula. So we begin mixing this batter, and then we're gonna slowly start to add the rest of the flour. So it should look like. And I like to add the flour in 3 portions. You will notice that it will get harder to mix as you keep adding flour, but that's how it should be. add the second portion of flour, and by this time it's going to get harder to mix with a paddle or spatula. So get ready to get your hands dirty and start mixing by hand. The dough is going to be very sticky, as you can see. Here I'm trying to mix with my hands. We want to get all the flour in the dough. And we keep mixing. You may want to transfer this to the table and continue mixing the dough right there. Now that all the flour is in the dough and the dough is no longer sticky, we're going to start the kneading process. So we transfer the dough to the table. We add a little bit of flour. And we start kneading the dough. This is done so the dough develops gluten, and that's going to give it structure to the bread. How do I know when to stop? Well, the dough has to be very smooth and it has to be elastic. A test you can do to see if the dough is elastic is to take a little bit of the dough and press it a little bit with your hands and stretch it. Like so. And you should be able to make like a little window. See, it's almost transparent. That's how you know that the dough is ready. Now we have to let the dough rise. You have to let the yeast do its work. It's going to eat the sugar and create carbon dioxide, and that's what's going to make the dough puff. We add a little bit of oil. We put our dough, and we cover it with a little bit of plastic wrap, and we put a dry towel on top, and we let this rest. What I like to do is I like to put the dough in the oven, turned off, and I put a big container of boiling water. Please have an adult boil the water for you. And close the oven. This will create a perfect environment for the yeast to rise because it will be moist and hot. So we have to wait for 1 hour until it doubles in size, and this is how it looks like. Now we can start shaping our dough. We stretch it and we roll it with a rolling pin, and we will have to make a rectangle shape. This will take quite a few minutes to get the desired shape. And now we're ready to start putting the filling. So since this is a family recipe, there's many changes to the recipe. Some people add bacon and capers, but the traditional way is this one. We're going to add ham, raisins, green olives to the inside. Okay, we roll it, and then we poke the bread, and we take the egg and brush it on top of the dough. This is what it will make the dough very shiny and golden once it bakes. After this, we put it in the oven. It should be on 350 grade Fahrenheit, and we bake it for about an hour or until golden brown. And this is how it looks like. So enjoy y a comer.